Bennie Randall Show. It's the Bennie Randall Show. It's the Bennie Randall Show. It's the Bennie Randall Show.
Welcome to another edition of the Bennie Randall Show. I'm your host, Bennie Randall Jr., aka The Motivator, and this powerful show brings you conversations with today's stars and tomorrow's legends. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Come on.
It's the Bennie Randall Show. 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 I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall Show. Yeah. I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall Show. Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Bennie Randall Jr., aka The Motivator, aka Business Advisor and Investor. And we have an extraordinary show tonight with Mr. Vincent T. Edwards, Mr. Speaker, aka Pastor of True Holiness Church of God in Christ. But let me tell you about this gentleman right here. Vincent Edwards is a college dropout diagnosed with cancer and faced dealing with mental and physical anguish of serving in the Army during the Gulf War. But Edwards was determined not to fall victim to his circumstance. He decided that no matter what he faced in life, he would make every effort to rise above mediocrity and realize the magnificent peace he was destined to fulfill. For Edwards, this vow was inspired by watching his mother endure many trials and tribulations as a child. No matter how hard it got, she never gave up. No matter how frequent the tears, she never quit. The tenacity of his mother, along with motivation from people he met along the way, encouraged Edwards to return to college, receive a degree in management, and become the CEO and founder of Blessed Enterprise. It gave him the faith to fight cancer and the willpower to heal from distress many veterans face after returning home from war. Most of all, it gave him the inclination to share his journey with others, motivating them to overcome their personal obstacles and become a purpose-driven. As a result, Mr. Speaker was born. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for being in the Bennie Randall Show. I appreciate you, brother. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing just wonderful, my brother. Thank you for having me on the show. It's just truly a pleasure to be in your presence.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. We're sending the check in the mail. They'll be right there soon. No, I'm just joking.
Nah, you don't have to pay me for promos. You all right with me, man. I won't trade you. I don't care what they say about you.
And in the interest of full disclosure, not only is Mr. Speaker a great entrepreneur and friend, but he's like my brother from another mother. We actually grew up years ago. We ain't gonna say how many years because we don't want y'all counting. But in that aspect. But today we're talking about the power of effective communication, Mr. Speaker, with the perfect name, Mr. Speaker. Before we get to that point, I went over briefly about a little bit about your background, but what was that inspiration to becoming Mr. Speaker, in your words?
In my words, well, the name itself was given to me by someone, and when I was working for a state agency here in the state of Florida, and I was the keynote speaker for the graduation program in their foundational leadership program. And this gentleman had heard me speak multiple times, many times throughout the agency. And before I did the keynote, he was like, man, this is going to be good. That's Mr. Speaker. That's Mr. Speaker. And so from that point on, I just took the phrase and rolled with it. And it's become, just a part of me and a part of who I am. I am blessed by God with the gift to be able to speak, to take any content anywhere learn it, and be able to effectively communicate that to audiences of all ages, ethnicities, and backgrounds. So the concept of Mr. Speaker, the name, was given to me by someone else, but the ability to speak is truly a gift from God, and to God be the glory.
Very powerful, brother. I really appreciate you on that. Mr. Speaker, you know, what I've known, you know, as being a speaker also, you know, communication is the key to anything that you want in life. Anything that you want in life. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care what career you're in. Learning how to speak and learning how to speak effectively, you know, is one of the greatest tools. Now, it's been said now many times that more people fear public speaking than anything else. Explain why you think that is and how people can get beyond that.
One of the things is people are afraid to speak publicly, because just a general fear. And what I tell people is that you talk and you speak all the time. It's getting in front of people and they become scared, they freeze up. And the reason that is a lot of times they don't feel comfortable with what they are saying. They're not comfortable with their content. They're not confident in what they're going to say. And that's why a lot of people fear public speaking. And the way to overcome that, one, is to know your content, to know your audience, and then to practice and prepare until things become, as they say in the sports industry, till it's muscle memory.
Mm. So let me ask you something now. What has been some of your biggest obstacles in becoming a speaker? And let's talk about the first time you ever spoke. What was that like? Because I can tell you some stories about my first time, and usually the first time is really not the best time. But what was the first time when you actually spoke, and how did it go?
Well, we'd have to go way back to my childhood days, when I was about, I'm going to say, no older than about 7 years old. I was very, very young. And it was an Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. It was some type of anniversary program or something like that. And I had to go up and I had to read at an early age the church history, I do believe, for that church. And I mean, as far as I can remember, it went well. My aunts and all of my family to this day stated that that was powerful because I was very young. But you have to understand, I come from a background and a family of educators. All of my most of my aunts, my family members, they were teachers, and reading was very key. They made it fun because reading itself was fundamental, and so it had to be a part of your everyday bringing up. So my first experience with public speaking was then, and it was great. But it was not until I was much older that I understood that it was a gift and it was my passion, and it was my purpose.
I love it. I love it. Now, you know, a lot of people afraid to speak because they don't want to fail. Can you share with the audience one of your failures that you learned something? Because I've always liked to know Vincent is like this. You know, in every lesson, there's a blessing, and every blessing, there's a lesson, right? And I remember the first time I spoke, nobody showed up. So I was talking to a room full of empty chairs, you know, but I had the opportunity to not do it and just move on. But I spoke to those empty chairs, but it taught me a lesson that, you know, this speaking game is more than just putting out a flyer and showing up. You got to influence people to the point where they believe they need to show up. But it also taught me that, you know, I was visualizing talking to those chairs, that eventually people would be in those chairs. Tell me about one of your failures that taught you when you began speaking.
Well, that one of my failures was when I forgot something in the middle of speaking, and that goes back to high school. You know, I used to do the morning announcements back in the day. We used to do those things, and it was over an intercom, and I had the honor of doing that every morning. And we used to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. And one day, I actually forgot the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm in the middle of.
I still don't know it today. I'm be honest. You tell me
I
to do
mean,
it.
I pledge allegiance
I don't
to
know
the
all the words.
And I just had a brain cramp, and that was just like, whoa. And to this day, from there, even though I know my material, it's always best to have a note somewhere, or a bullet point, or a card somewhere that you can make reference to. Now, going back to what you stated about speaking to empty chairs, I truly understand that, because when I founded the church back in 2012 and beginning out, and nobody knew who I was, there were many a times when I was the only one in the church, and I did the offering, the announcements, and I preached to empty chairs like I was preaching to 1,000. And so, but what does that teach you? It teaches you perseverance. It teaches you, no matter what, it teaches you how to overcome adversity, and it makes you think, is this what I'm really supposed to be doing? Because it's easy to speak when there are people there, but will you still do your craft when no one's there and nobody's watching but you and God?
What was that motivation to do that, man? Because I just felt like if I didn't do something, I'm just, uh, I wouldn't be okay with myself. You know what I mean? So what was that motivation? You started in a church and there's nobody there. Like, what was going through your mind at that time? Because the reason why I'm asking this, because whether it's a church, whether it's your working place, whether it's wherever you're at, you're going to come across that time where that audience either going to be with you or they won't be in the audience, and you still have to perform, whether it's one person or whether it's 1,000 people. What was the thinking during that time?
It goes back to your why, Benny. Your why, your purpose, the reason behind why you're there and doing what you're doing. And for me, it was for my love of God and knowing that He called me. And so then you have to have faith, because a faith that's not tested cannot be trusted. And
Mm,
so during that point in time in my life, I was being tested to see, okay, are you really going to stick this out? And the enemy was saying, is God, did God truly call you? And so my motivation was my love for God and trust to know that God is not a man that He could not lie. And He called me and He told me to do it. And His word will never return to Him void. And so with me preaching to empty chairs over the past 11 years now, things have gotten a whole lot better. And my reach to people around the world, because I preached to empty chairs and I spoke effectively and communicated what God wanted me to communicate, the reach of God has expanded.
I love that. I love that. So now give our listeners 3 tips how to become better speakers. If you had to give them 3 tips, they're just starting off, maybe they never spoken anywhere. So, because a lot of times people are gifted and whatnot. I know I've been talking since, in fact, I lost girlfriends because I talk so much. I've had girlfriends. They just told me, I just can't do this no more. You know what I mean? You be talking in your sleep, you be talking here and there, and they left, but I'm still here. I know they wish they stayed now, but it's another game. That's another game right there. But go ahead, talk to me. 3 powerful tips on people just beginning the art of speaking and speaking effectively.
Wow. 3 tips. I'm just practice, practice, practice would be the short answer. However, to add to that, one is know your audience, know your topic, practice, and the bonus is always record everything you say.
Mm, I love that, man. I absolutely love that. So what tips and trips have you learned that work with engaging an audience? Because a lot of times people get thrown off, like if, say, the audience does something, or maybe you have a heckler, or maybe you have that person that's just looking for attention and they just happen to be in your audience. How do you keep that going forward?
One of the things that's where knowing your content is truly key, because
Mhm.
if you know your content, you can make adjustments on the fly. I liken it to a football player, a quarterback. They call a play in the huddle, but when he goes out and he looks over the defense, he knows the play. He says, I know this one won't work, but because of the way they're set up, I can call an audible and this play will work. How does that apply to public speaking? Well, first, you want to show up early as possible and begin, if possible, mingle a little bit with some of the audience. They may not even know you're the speaker, but you can mingle with them, get to know some of them, and begin to talk to them and find out things that you can take from them to integrate into your talk, because now you can make it personal to some people. And then with those people that are in the audience, you've got to learn to feed off of them. If they say something, immediately, if you know your content, how can I take what they've said, integrate it into my content, and then throw it back at them? For example, you're giving a talk on purpose, planning, and performing, and you have a heckler that says, man, that whole stuff about purpose, planning, and performing, that's garbage. Well, really? Garbage? Well, do you take out your garbage at your house? And they were like, huh? I was like, yeah. I mean, the purpose for you taking out your garbage is what? And they said, well, to keep my house from smelling and keeping, rodents and things out of my house. So that's a purpose. So when is your trash day? It's every Tuesday. Well, what do you do on Monday evening? Well, think about getting, also you put together a plan on Monday evening to fulfill your purpose. And then you execute it, right? And so you kind of take things like that and you weave it in. That's just a real quick example of how you can take something every day and you bring that person into your speaking. And sometimes I would even invite them, come on up to the stage with me. And that will stop a lot of hecklers from, no, man, come on, you was talking some stuff. Come on up and share with the audience, because I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge that you can share regarding this topic. And that'll shut a lot of people up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You call them on stage and, not only now, there going to be some pookies that are going to go through and be like, yeah, that's what I wanted in the first place. But most of them, they're not going to want to come up.
They're not going to want to do.
Let's play a word game, because me, like, I use bullet points when I'm, speaking, but I never actually write down any presentation, because, I only talk about things that I experience. So we're going to play word play. I'm going to give you a word, right?
Okay.
And you're going to give me a short story about that word.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I love it. So now, so for the audience, so you practicing extemporaneous speaking, huh? All right. I got you.
All right. I can't even spell that word, but that's what happens when you get. And I don't know what it means, but while you're speaking, I'm going to Google it and find out exactly what you meant when you said that. See, one thing I tell you about Mr. Vincent, boy, he speaks so eloquently. You know what I mean? My words, I like to keep them small: cat, hat, bag. You know what I mean? But he knows how to really speak, in that capacity. So I'm just teasing him. He's my brother from another mother. All right. The first word, peace.
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 Oh my goodness. That's a powerful word. And that's something that everybody searches for, because people like to have peace. What does it mean? The absence of adversity, the absence of trouble, the absence of trials and tribulations, a place where you can just go and feel serene. It's absence from struggle. And one of the key ways to get that in your life, and this is from a biblical perspective, in order to have peace, first you must have peace with God. That is, to have a relationship and to reconcile with Him. But the other thing is, peace is something that most married men look for all the time. And that's where they learn how to keep you. I always use a statement called peace in the valley. What does that mean? Sometimes you just don't have to respond to things, and it keeps everything nice and quiet.
He said that's most married men. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, shots were fired. Shots were fired, ladies and gentlemen. Now, just teasing. The next word, impact.
Impact. Ooh, that's something that you want to have in an individual's life, and not only just an impact, but an indelible impact, meaning that you're going to do something that is remembered, something that is beneficial. So to have an impact, it's something that you do that has someone to prompt a change in their life for the better. Some types of impact, some types of things can have a devastating impact, meaning that it could cause people to go off track, but you want to have a memorable, indelible impact on someone's life. And that is something that you do that is so powerful, that is transformational, that causes them to think, not only to think, but to do something different, something powerful.
And the last word play is contribution.
Mm. The Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over shall men give into your bosom, because whatever you give out, you will receive. And a contribution is giving, not necessarily money, but giving of your time or your talents to help someone improve in some area of their life. You want to add value to people. That's what contribution is all about, giving something to some individual to make them better. For example, Benny, you're giving tonight. You're making a contribution by way of your radio show, your television show, by bringing people together with information that can be life changing for individuals. And so by you recording these and putting them out there, some live, you're making a contribution to society. You're giving something to society. And what are you giving? Information. Information that, if taken to heart, if used, can make a difference in someone's life.
Love it, love it. Now let's move on to, a lot of times people see the success, right, of where you are, but a lot of people don't see the mess of where you were. And it's, I believe in every story there's a glory, and in every glory there's a story. You talked about in your bio, having a fight with cancer. Tell the audience a little bit about that and how that changed you.
Well, it really changed me and my relationship with people and my relationship with God. Because when I was diagnosed with the type of cancer they thought I had, there was really nothing man could do. And so I had to look to God. And so that brought me back to what I grew up with, knowing God, and it strengthened my relationship with him. So that was life changing for me, to have a doctor say that what you have may be eating up the inside of your head. So I have to send you to Shands, to a specialist. So that was life changing for me.
And what have it taught you going through that obstacle and still here today, about what is your purpose here, about one, the ability to communicate the values and the ability to inspire people and hopefully cause impact in each other's lives? Because, I'm not a scripture expert, but I know it says something about, the power of the tongue.
Life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so what you speak is very, very powerful. To really hone in on the answer for that, and with the cancer, it has to go back to what started all of that. I went to college and I pledged and I lost my mind. I got caught up with sex and women and partying. And I forgot my purpose when I went to the University of Florida. And I love it because
I want you to hold up there just for a second now, And the reason why, because see, people see you in your glory right now, but you had a past.
Had a past, yes.
And a lot of people don't like to share their past. And I'm so grateful that you said what you said, because a lot of people only see you at the end result. They didn't see how you got made, and they didn't see you when you was in the back room. They didn't see when you was shaking what mama gave you. They didn't see all of that stuff. You know what I mean? But I appreciate it. Please elaborate.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you said. See, there is mess in my message. So you have to understand, and I'm willing and I'm very open because I used to bartend, I used to manage a nightclub, I've done all of that. But when I lost my mind at the University of Florida, I ran out of money. And so I had to go to, I didn't have to. I chose to go to the military because going home was not an option. And
Mm.
so I went to the military. I got more money to finish up school. And I came back and I stayed in the reserves. Long story, Saddam decided to invade Kuwait. So I was back over in Southwest Asia in the Gulf War. And that's where all my issues started. Everything from lupus to fibromyalgia that I deal with, and the lupus um, had led to the squamous cell carcinoma, which was around my eye. So all of that came out of me losing my purpose when I went to the University of Florida. And so, what did I learn? I learned that failure ain't final. And that's something that I talk about.
Yeah,
Failure ain't
yeah,
final
fun.
because
Woo,
God
I like that.
has the last word. And that's one of the things that I speak on. Because what else came out of that? The thing that I teach on all the time is called the 5 F's. And if I would have understood the 5 F's, I would not have gone to the military. I would not have dealt with these issues. But the Bible says, and we know that all things work together for the good. And so everything that's happened, I now understand that if I would have focused on the fundamentals, fought, had fun, but not too much fun, and finished, that means close the deal, I would have been true to my original purpose. But through it all, through the adversity, through the surgeries, through the medications, I understand now I found my purpose, and that is to communicate and share my story and let people see that one, there is a God and that He is able to still allow you in the midst of all your circumstances, in the midst of your mess, in the midst of your failures. He's always faithful. So that's why I say failure ain't final because now I've learned to have faith. And the one thing about having faith and believing, faith never denies the facts, never denies the facts, never denies what's going on. But what faith does do is allow you to look beyond the facts and see God.
Man, I love that, man. Just in case you're joining us, we're speaking to Mr. Speaker, Vincent T. Edwards, as he's dropping it. You said, Vincent, and it struck me when you just said that. You were saying the mess and the message, and how you so openly share, where you come from to get where you're at right now. And I often come across people a lot of times that don't want to they don't want to talk about the past because they believe it has no value. And I often like to tell people that it does have value, because the glory's in your story, and that's how you inspire others. What do you say to those people who don't even want to get on that stage of life? Because they don't even have to be, everybody ain't meant to be on a big stage, but at some point you're going to have to stand before man and be able to share that story, or at least tell that story. What do you say to those people that says, well, all those bad things that happened to me, I just want to put them in the closet and I don't want nobody to know? But it doesn't effectively help anyone else from you hiding it. What do you say to those people?
Everything that you go through is not just for you. Somebody is waiting to hear your story because they're watching you and you can help someone else overcome. One of the things I often say is smart people learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And
Mm,
so, because of my mistakes that I've made, that's why I love speaking to young people. They may not use it, but they can never say they did not know. Because I like to share with them, hey, I'm not that I'm smarter than you, I'm just further down the road than you are. I mean, you're on First Street, I'm on 57. So I can tell you that there's a couple stop signs, a couple red lights, and you need to make a left turn when you get up there instead of a right turn. Not that I'm smarter, it's just I've been down the road. And the value of that and the reason I do it is because there's a quote that says, where you are now is the sum total of all the decisions that you have made up until this point. And so all the decisions that you have made in your life have led you to where you are. A businessman I knew said, he got where he was because he learned how to make good decisions. And he said, I learned how to make good decisions from making bad decisions. And we all make bad decisions. But the key is, am I willing to get up? Am I willing to ask for help? But then am I willing to go back and share so that someone else does not make the same mistakes? It's kind of like a poem um, called The Bridge Builder, to basically summarizing an old man built a bridge because he was looking beyond what he went through. And he built that bridge so people coming beyond after him would not have to go through the same mistakes. So what am I saying? Share your story. Someone is waiting to hear your story. And to put it from a biblical perspective, we're overcome by the words of our testimonies. So your testimony will help someone else get through. And somebody is waiting to hear from you, to know that, hey, losing my job is not the end. Having cancer is not the end, because I may not be healed from it, but the word of God says his grace is sufficient to get you through.
Very, very powerful. And if you're just joining us in whatever platform you're listening on, if you have any questions or comments, please just put them in the thing, and we'll try to get to them. Vincent, I see Miss Ramos says preach. So he is preaching. Every time he talk, he preaching. You know what I mean? Like I told you, it's like a brother from another mother. We used to be drums in the church. That's how long we've been knowing each other, from that aspect. So let me ask you, Vincent. Now, the speaking business has exploded via the internet. All right.
Mhm.
And really, every place you can be, there's a stage. You know what I mean? Um, since the internet and this digital landscape has occurred, what are some of the most effective ways for people learning to communicate, speakers, wannabe speakers, professional speakers, to really be able to dominate in this thing we call communication in using the internet? What have you found some of the things that work?
And the word you say, to dominate. One of the things you have to do is to find out your niche, because right now, with the way everything is, everybody's can be a professional. Everybody can have a show. Everybody can do a podcast. I mean, with the technology that exists today, your cell phone, all of the social media platforms, everybody can speak, and everybody has the ability to have a platform. The key is, what do you want to say, and who do you want to say it to?
Mm.
What's the problem that you're solving, and who needs those answers? And so that's where you have to first answer those questions. And then you got to find out what's the most effective way to reach that particular audience. And then the thing that I found out, and one of the things that one of my coaches had told me, and he said, visibility brings credibility, but you have to be consistent. You have to
Mhm.
be consistent. If you say you're going to be there on Thursdays, be there on Thursdays. And
Mhm.
that's the key. And it takes time to build a brand and to build your audience. But you've got to know who it is you want to speak to, what it is that you want to say, and be consistent.
Very, very powerful. So, speaking of that and being a speaker now, what have you learned in the difference between speaking with corporate and speaking with non-corporate people? Some of the things you have learned that allow you to be able to switch, because you have to switch when it's a different audience. So, what have you learned in actually knowing your audience prior to it and when you get there? Because sometimes you think it's be one audience and then you get there and it's something totally different. How do you adjust in that?
Here again, it comes with practice. For example, you may be speaking on a high level topic, and you're supposed to be speaking to CEOs, and you show up and they say, well, the CEOs had to go, there was a business meeting and they had to go overseas. But what we were able to do was we found this kindergarten group, and they didn't have anything to do, and they wanted you to be able to talk to them and motivate 300 kindergarten students.
Whew.
So now, whew, yeah.
I only
So
say that because I spoke to like a middle school, and boy, that was different because I was used to speaking to audience where these are grown folks or whatever. But man, my very first time speaking to them kids, man, you gotta adjust. I had to take off my tie and everything.
correct. So now it goes back to when I told you practice, 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 know your audience and know your material. So now you're getting ready. You are prepared to speak to CEOs, and now you're speaking to 3-year-olds. So how
CEOs and now 3-year-olds.
you so what do? How do you do that? Well, you got to take it down to bite-sized pieces. So how would you do that? Well, say you were coming to talk to CEOs about building their bottom line and how you can help transform their organization with sales techniques and improve their bottom line. Well, okay, I'm ready to do that. So how do I do that with 3-year-olds? Well, talk to them about, that toy you wanted and you didn't have the money. I'm going to teach you a strategy to help you increase your bottom line. Do you want your parents to give you more money? Yeah. Do you want enough money to buy that toy? Yeah. Let me teach you one technique. In the corporate world, when we talk about increasing sales, we call it overcoming objections. But for you, we're going to call it saying, Mom, Dad, I really, really need this. And so what are you going to do? This is a big word. Repeat after me. Say persistence. Persistence. Yeah. Say persistence. Persistence. What does that mean? Don't give up. Overcoming objections in the real world, they tell you no. Your parents are going to tell you, no, I'm not buying it. No, I'm not giving it to you. You got to persevere. You got to overcome objections. You ask questions. Mom, why? Dad, why? Why not? And you do it every day, day in, day out. You don't give up. You're not rude. You say, but Mom, I cleaned my room. Dad, I washed the dishes. And so you keep doing it because eventually that no will turn into a yes. So
Wow.
it's called
That was
overcoming.
good, man. That was good for the kids, but it didn't work for me, Vincent. I'm sorry. These kids was looking at me like they was gonna fight me. Okay. I'm just be real right now.
So but notice I said kindergarten students and not middle schoolers, because middle schoolers, they've got a whole lot of other stuff going on. It's that time in their life where hormones are doing this and the hormones are doing that, and they want to be grown and they don't. So now I would have had to take a whole different approach. I didn't say middle school. I said kindergarten.
All right. What I did for the middle school kids, after we did a little intermission, I came back, I took off my tie, and then I had to get in. I started talking about the music they like, and then I just took all my money out my pocket and threw it in the audience. They went crazy.
Bingo.
I bought that love.
No, you did something that they understood.
Yes.
You made what we call in the world a connection. You built rapport because they understood the Benjamins. So now you've got their attention. So now you can communicate with them on their level with something that they understand. So now you can probably tied your presentation into money, into music. And with that M&M approach, you were magnificent, my brother.
Oh man, by that time it was over. I gave some free books. They was running around the stage. They wanted to know that I have some more money that they give away. And they was like, we want you to come back. And can you bring more money? You like the speech? Yeah, but you bring more money? No.
Money.
So It is all good, man. The time is going so fast, man, when you're having fun. So let me ask this, Vincent. What has been one of the most difficult things you had to learn as becoming a professional speaker? Well, I know
That everybody's
ain't too many things difficult for you because you like to talk and you like to run your mouth. So, but I'm just talking about we're trying to talk to the people that might be a little scared.
everybody's not going to always like what you have to say. And here's the thing: you don't have. And I love this quote. I don't know who said it, but I live by it. You don't always have to say everything that you know, but know everything that you say.
Mm, that's kind of
So
hot.
what? So with that is understand that everybody is not going to applaud you, and you're not always going to be on fire. But the key is go in and always do your best. But understand, even in doing your best, somebody's not going to like you.
Mm. So let me ask you something, as we get down to the end of this interview. You know, you spoke about being in the military. What type of profound effect did that have on you as an individual and as a speaker? How did that affect you?
It opened my eyes to other parts of the world. It exposed me to different ethnicities, different backgrounds. It allowed me to build relationships with people that did not look like me and came from other parts of the world. So it really broadened my horizons. It expanded my knowledge of how to connect with people. At the end of the day, people are people. But what we fail to understand is that people are different. And I'm not talking racist difference, I'm talking culturally different. Because a lot of times we don't interact with people. And that's where we fail to understand that there are differences in culture. So that expanded my knowledge of people by being in the military. It also taught me that, hey, you can deal with a lot, you can overcome a lot. And it also gave me a lot of stories to use when I do my public speaking. So, and the other thing the military helped me to do was it gave me experience in an area that I eventually got my degree from the Florida State University, which means I got real world managerial experience in logistics. And I understood budgets and how things work and how to conduct inventories and the power of, um, well, it really taught me this: if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's coming from a budgetary standpoint, because a lot of times, and from a state government or company perspective, you ask for a certain amount of money in your budget and you don't use it, and you ask it for it again and you don't use it. Next time you go to ask for that budget, they're not going to give it to you. So I learned to use all my money. And if they didn't use their money, I went and asked for their money. So I really understood as a supply sergeant, and I got their money, and it increased my budget. So there were a lot of lessons learned. Were there a lot of hurts? Were there a lot of pains? Yes. Being away from home, being in a foreign country, and being owned by Uncle Sam, it took some getting used to. But it also taught me that, hey, no matter how tough things get in life, as long as you keep God at the forefront, you'll be all right.
Very, very powerful. You know, in your final words, before we get down to your final words, if people want to learn more about you, they want to reach out to you, maybe want to book you for speaking, how can they do that?
They can go to the website at my name, VincentTEdwards.com. That's Vincent, my middle initial T, Edwards.com. You can go there, or you can give me a call at 850-264-0061. 850-264-0061. That's for the personal. If you want to just come and have church, you can always visit me for a church engagement at True Holiness, COGIC.org. That's True Holiness, COGIC.org. And that's True Holiness Church of God in Christ in Tallahassee, Florida.
You actually gave out your phone number. What was you thinking?
Hey, it's on the website. It's on the website. You
Wow.
know, it's on the website.
All
Hey.
right. Since Vincent did it, then you know what? I'm gonna do it here. My number for all of those that want to reach me is 8675309. No, I'm just lying. That's a song.
I know it is, and I had, there's a story that I share, with people when I first met my wife, who will be my wife of 30 years come this April.
Wow.
When I met her at the cookout back in the day,
congratulations, man. Congratulations. I was born in April, so that's a powerful month. So there. So man, go on ahead.
And I married April in April. Her name is April. So
Lordy, go on ahead. I was just about to say that though. So
but I'm gonna go one deep on you. I'm gonna go one.
Your wife's name is April,
yes.
And you married her in April.
And I'm gonna go one deep on you.
What's that?
Our first dance was to a song called April Love. That's back in the day. I do believe that was LTD. I think that sang that song back in the day.
Go on ahead with your bad self. You better go on ahead with your bad self. I'm not mad at you, man. Wow, that's powerful, man. April is my favorite month, because that's when I was born. So, brother, I appreciate you like always. And your final words, Vincent.
My final words. Wow. Don't waste time in anything that you do. Don't waste time, because tomorrow is not promised to you. And I learned one thing from a man, and he said, don't waste major time with minor people. Don't waste major time with minor people. And so make the most of everything. Benjamin Mays, I do believe, says it like this: I've only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, I can't refuse it. I didn't seek it, nor did I choose it. But it's up to me to use it. I will suffer if I abuse it, must give an account if I lose it. Just a tiny minute, but eternity is in it. And in that 60 seconds, a lot can transpire. So don't waste your time. We always say, I'm going to manage time. You can't manage time. You can't put it in a bottle and save it and come back and get it. You have to make effective use of the time that you're given, because you never know when it will be your last. And brother, you get me talking. We have these watches, and so the clock of life is wound but once, and no man has the power to tell just when the hands will stop at a late or an early hour. To lose one's wealth is sad indeed. To lose one's health is more. But to lose one's soul is such a loss that no man can restore. Remember, the present only is our own. So live, love, and toil with the will. Place no faith in tomorrow, for then the clock may be still.
Brother, that brother know how to drop it. I mean, what they do when people do that stuff like that. That's when they do that. I can't let him outdo me right here. So I'm gonna drop one right now, because I just can't leave here and just let him outdo me right now. All right, so let me go in deep for a second. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. The end. All righty. Brother, I appreciate you.
Oh, my brother, I love you with all of my heart. I thank you for everything and all that you've done, and everything that you've done to help out. You are a true friend, and I thank God for that. And not only a true friend, but you're a real brother. And much love to you always. I look up to you, I admire you, and I pray for you that God's hand continue to be upon you, so that you can continue to prosper.
I appreciate that, brother. You're like my brother from another mother, man. And people don't realize how powerful it is to have somebody that you can look up to like a brother, for the longest. And and on a personal note, you know, coming to do the eulogy for my mom was the most powerful thing I think I've ever heard in a long time. And for that, I want to publicly say I appreciate that, brother. My circle is very, very small, and you one of those people in that circle, and I appreciate that, man, because it's we live in a time now where people don't know how to love on each other, and with no intentions, just pure, unadulterated love, man, and I appreciate that, brother. All right.
And I learned it. That's why, oh, to be like Nancy. Gotta be like Nancy. She loved.
Appreciate that, boy. Y'all didn't. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. And with that, Vincent, make sure you go check him out. That's Vincent T. Edwards. .com, Vincent T. Edwards. And if you need a speaker, you need a powerful speaker, this is one of the guys you need to reach out to. And on top of that, if you want to go church with him, you're down in the Tallahassee, like he said, that old country, you know what I mean? You want to go to church with him? Yeah, that's what he does. You know what I mean? And I appreciate all the people that are tuned in with us, and all the people that's going to see the replay. We really appreciate you over here. And you can watch 4 episodes at Vinoy Media on YouTube. And I appreciate you all for being here. And always remember, in life, it's not what you do, it's what you do for others. It's how you contribute to others. It's how you serve others. And with that, I love you. And you can't do a damn thing about it, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, I'm Benny Randall Jr., aka The Motivator. I'll see you next time.